They spray-painted boat trash across my dead uncle's pristine cabin cruiser while I slept inside. No, I'm not exaggerating. Neon orange letters 8 inches tall running like blood down 40 feet of spotless white fiberglass. The kind of vandalism you feel in your bones. I woke up at 6 a.m. to the stench of aerosol, the cans still hissing. And let me tell you, whoever did this wanted me to see it, wanted me to smell it, wanted me to know they could wreck my inheritance before breakfast. This boat survived 30 years of Colorado mountain storms without so much as a scratch. Now it looked like a billboard of shame, visible from every house on the lake. When I tried to scrub it off, the wet paint smeared onto my hands like orange guilt, impossible to wash clean. And if that wasn't enough, there was a violation notice duct taped to my windshield, flapping in the breeze like a threat you couldn't ignore. 72 hours to remove your unsightly boat or pay $500 a day in fines, signed by Delilah Thornfield, our local HOA president and dictator in khakis. What would you do if they trashed your family's legacy and tried to fine you for the privilege? Where are you watching from anyway? Drop your worst HOA nightmare below. Maybe misery really does love company. Let me back up and tell you how this whole circus started. Name's Marcus Blackwood, 52, retired Navy logistics officer. 20 years moving mountains to keep aircraft carriers supplied, 3 oceans and too many deployments to count. After my divorce, I was rotting in a cramped San Diego apartment watching my teenage daughter Sage scroll through TikTok, both of us trying to pretend we were still family on those awkward weekends. Then Uncle Ezra passed away at 89, leaving me his lakefront cottage up in the Rockies. The only relative who ever gave a damn about me. He built everything himself. Cottage dock, even the old boathouse, 40 years of hard work, still standing, still solid. The place sits on Alpine Lake, which looks like God's own swimming pool. 300 acres of clear blue water between pine-covered peaks, trout darting under the dock, silence so pure you hear your own heart beating. After years of rent slavery, inheriting a paid-off cabin felt like winning the lottery. The neighborhood looked perfect at first, 47 houses, manicured lawns, luxury cars parked like trophies. The Lakeside Estates HOA charging $350 a month to maintain property values code for enforcing whatever rules the Queen Bee invented that week. Enter Delilah Thornfield, 58. Former HR executioner turned HOA president for life, ruling from an $800,000 glass fortress across the cove. If you ever wondered what it's like to live under a suburban dictator, Delilah's. Your answer-pressed country club uniforms, clipboards for weapons, 127 violation notices in 2 years. She measures grass with rulers, times dog walks with stopwatches, photographs offenses like she's collecting evidence for a war crimes tribunal. 2 families had already sold and fled. My first real confrontation with her came in week 2. I was sipping coffee on my dock sunrise, painting the mountains gold when her designer heels started clicking across the planks like a countdown timer. Your boat creates unsightly ripples that disturb our peaceful lake aesthetic, she announced, clipboard ready. I just pointed at Uncle Ezra's 1985 Bayliner showing its age but clean proud. Ma'am, it's registered, insured, and within my rights. She flashed a smile cold enough to crack concrete. We'll see about that, won't we? What followed was psychological warfare, dressed up as community concern. Violation notices, lawyer threats, anonymous county complaints about my commercial vessel, a petition signed by 12 neighbors claiming my boat destroyed their quality of life. According to these people, my diesel engine was somehow louder than their leaf blowers and ruining their mornings. After the boat was vandalized, I did what any former Navy guy would do, treated it like an op. First, I spent 6 hours in the county courthouse, digging through HOA documents in a basement that smelled like bureaucratic defeat. I found a gem section 12, something about original owners and grandfathered rights. Back in the Navy, I learned the devil's always in the paperwork. Then I upgraded security, weatherproof cameras, night vision, cloud backups. Delilah couldn't touch. When I reported the vandalism, Deputy Rodriguez weathered, unamused, treated it with the seriousness of an actual crime scene. 3 HOA harassment complaints this month, he muttered. These suburban dictators are getting bold. My next move was a certified demand letter, $500 for repairs, cease harassment, and a formal apology. I hand-delivered it myself. Delilah's answer. An emergency HOA board meeting to address the problem resident. Translation, how fast can we destroy this guy's life? She didn't stop there. The board drafted a new rule banning boats over 25 feet or older than 10 years, tailor-made to sink me. Next, she ran a full-on smear campaign flyers about my boat murdering fish neighbors with cameras stalking me every time I idled out for a sunset cruise like paparazzi waiting for a scandal. It was comical if you weren't living it. That's when the story took a turn. While cleaning out Uncle Ezra's basement, I found a box marked property papers. Inside, decades of deeds, surveys, and correspondence. One yellow deed from 1923 stopped me. Cold grantor retains perpetual rights to lake water usage. Didn't know exactly what it meant, but my gut said, jackpot. Turns out I wasn't the only victim. Beth Morrison, retired teacher, whispered her story at the mailbox, fined $15,000 for growing tomatoes. Vietnam vet Jim Santos paid $2,000 for the crime of painting his mailbox the wrong shade of green. Delilah's pattern was clear: weaponize the rules to force out anyone who didn't fit her vision. She was a serial neighborhood killer, and I was just next on the list. Unlike her past victims, I had patience and military training. I started treating my coffee on the dock like a strategy meeting, mapping out every move. When Delilah escalated to outright sabotage, cutting my dock lines so the boat drifted onto rocks, caught on my security cameras with her white BMW lurking in the background, I turned my dock into a fortress. Floodlights, backup batteries, marine-grade locks. I started recording every interaction. Colorado's one-party consent law turned my phone into a legal weapon. A maritime attorney explained my trump card, navigational servitude, meant HOA busybodies couldn't override state water rights. And then came the real bombshell. Sarah, my property attorney, found that the original developers never bought lake rights. Turns out my great-great-grandfather dammed this creek in 1918 for logging. Every subsequent deed down to Uncle Ezra retained full water and lakebed ownership. Sarah nearly burst out laughing when she pieced it together. Marcus, you don't just have water rights, you own the whole damn lake. And just like that, the war shifted. For nearly 40 years, the HOA had collected hundreds of thousands in fees for a lake they never legally controlled. Every dock, every gazebo, every swim platform, they were all trespassing on my property. Delilah tried every desperate move: emergency legal fees, state park complaints, junk science from her brother-in-law's kayak buddy, Facebook fear-mongering about outsiders and undesirables. But as my evidence piled up, so did her problems. Residents quietly brought me their horror stories. Financial records revealed Delilah was funneling HOA money to lawyers for personal vendettas. Her attacks on me were bleeding the community dry. My attorney filed for an injunction. HOA couldn't restrict my lake access, period. I hired a surveyor, discovered my property line actually extended 30 feet into the lake. Her fancy meditation gazebo built entirely on my land. For months, I let Delilah spend HOA money like a gambler on a losing streak. Lawyers, investigators, even a PI who ended up digging up my Navy record and veteran charity work, not the dirt she hoped for. The showdown was inevitable. At the next HOA meeting, Sarah and I rolled in with boxes of deeds and survey maps. Delilah did her best impression of a dictator on the edge, waving petitions, shouting about community values. When I took the mic, I projected the 1923 deed for all to see. I own the lake every inch. The room went dead silent. Board members' faces drained as they realized what that meant. Hundreds of thousands in illegal fees, decades of trespassing structures sitting on land that never belonged to the HOA. I could have bankrupted the whole neighborhood, sued every family for trespass, but instead, I offered a deal $50 a year per house for continued lake access. All previous fees forgiven and Delilah's resignation effective immediately. The vote wasn't even close. She left the meeting red-faced, never to return. Within weeks, for sale signs popped up on her house and her loyalists. Property values. They soared when buyers heard the HOA was history, and the lake was finally open on fair terms. Now, Beth Morrison runs the HOA, if you can call it that. It's really just neighbors helping neighbors. Sage spent the summer learning to dock the boat and laughing with her friends instead of watching her dad battle paperwork. We set up a scholarship fund for kids studying environmental science or property law, and our story spread copycat revolts against HOA tyrants from coast to coast. Funny how things work out, right? Delilah ended up in Arizona where her new HOA fined her for unauthorized wind chimes. Karma, you know. Now I sip coffee on my dock at sunrise, the mountains gold, the lake calm, my daughter's laughter echoing over water. That's mine, in every way that matters but belongs in spirit to anyone who believes home should be a sanctuary, not a battlefield. So tell me what's your HOA horror story. Drop it in the comments. Maybe you'll be the next legend. And if you believe in standing up to bullies, hit like, subscribe, and share. Let's keep this fight going. You never know. The next person who needs this story could be you.